San Antonio was down their starting point guard, turning the ball over every other possession, shooting 30% from three, and somehow, they walked into Oklahoma City and stole Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals from the defending champions in double overtime. Welcome to Hoops Pill. Subscribe and drop a like, it means everything to the channel. Before we get into how this happened, let's establish something important about the context here, because it makes the result even harder to process. The Thunder got exactly the version of this game they wanted. They forced 21 turnovers, scored 28 points off those turnovers, shot well from three, got 31 points off the bench from Alex Caruso on 8 of 14 from deep, and had their MVP clicking in the second half. On paper, that is a blueprint for an Oklahoma City win in almost any circumstance. And they still lost. That is the part that should be making every Thunder fan genuinely uncomfortable right now, because you cannot manufacture a more favorable set of conditions and still come up short without asking some very serious questions about what is actually happening in this series. The story of Game 1 starts and ends with 41 points and 24 rebounds from Victor Wembanyama, a line so absurd that when you first see it, you genuinely think it is a misprint. But the raw numbers are almost secondary to what actually happened on the floor, because the box score cannot capture the possessions that never happened. Oklahoma City spent the entire night trying to figure out what shots they were even permitted to attempt inside the arc, and the answer Wembanyama kept giving them was none. Thunder guards would get into the paint, see him standing there, and physically turn around mid-drive, not because they were stopped, but because the calculation of what comes next was too discouraging to follow through on. That passive dominance does not show up anywhere in the statistics, but it shaped the entire architecture of how the game was played from the opening tip. The specific way Wembanyama neutralized SGA in the first half deserves its own conversation, because it was a masterclass in team defensive coordination built around one player's presence. The Spurs sent wave after wave of bodies at SGA every time he touched the ball, crowded every driving lane, and rotated help consistently, with Wembanyama positioned as the anchor, absorbing whatever the Thunder tried to push toward the rim. The result was 4 points on 4 of 5 shooting and just 5 attempts in an entire first half for the reigning MVP. That is not passivity from SGA. The shots simply weren't there because San Antonio had constructed a defensive wall that required Wembanyama's length and timing to function at the level it did. The moment one Thunder guard got past the first layer of defense, Wembanyama was already there waiting, and the decision of whether to even attempt the finish became genuinely paralyzing. There's a play that captures everything about how Wembanyama affects games that nobody talks about enough. A.J. Mitchell caught the ball in the mid-range area and went up for a floater, a shot he's made hundreds of times in his career. But the arc he put on it was so extreme, so overcorrected, that the ball had no realistic chance of going in before it even left his hand. Wembanyama barely moved. He barely needed to. The fear of what might happen if he went straight at the rim changed the biomechanics of the shot itself. And that's a level of defensive gravity that almost no player in NBA history has been able to generate. You can scheme against a rim protector who can test shots. You cannot scheme against one who makes players alter shots before the contest even begins. Now here's where the story pivots, because Wembanyama's performance was historic, and the Spurs still almost lost this game, which tells you something important about the supporting cast and what they had to overcome. When DeAndre Fox was ruled out before tip-off, the concern was legitimate and immediate, because Fox is the steady presence San Antonio leans on when possessions get ugly and pressure builds in the fourth quarter. Without him, the entire burden of ball handling fell on Stefon Castle and Dylan Harper. And for stretches of this game, particularly Castle, the turnovers were genuinely alarming. 11 turnovers from your primary ball handler against a team that converts defensive pressure into transition offense as efficiently as Oklahoma City does is usually a death sentence. Castle finished with 11 turnovers and also 17 points, 11 assists, and 6 rebounds. And somehow, the number that matters more is not the turnovers. What stood out about Castle wasn't the production, it was the response pattern after each mistake. Every time he threw a bad pass, every time he got sped up and lost the handle, the very next possession, he put his head down and attacked again. No hesitation, no body language collapse, no visible weight from what had just happened. That mental reset under pressure in a conference finals game on the road, starting in place of an all-star point guard, is not something you coach into a player over a few weeks. That is character. And Castle showed enough of it in this game that the turnovers became a footnote to the larger story of who he's becoming in this postseason run. He put the MVP in the basket in overtime on a pass that required the kind of vision and confidence most veteran guards don't have, and he made it look routine. But the player who genuinely needs to be discussed from Game 1 is Dylan Harper, because what he did in this environment was borderline unreasonable. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 steals, starting in the Western Conference Finals on the road against the defending champions in the absence of the team's primary point guard. 7 steals in a playoff game is extraordinary for any player at any experience level. For a rookie in his first conference finals start, it borders on inexplicable. The early part of his game had the expected adjustment period, a few possessions where the moment felt large, where the speed of everything was just slightly ahead of his processing time. Then he got to the free throw line, hit 2 in a row, and something visibly shifted in how he was carrying himself on the floor. From that free throw moment forward, Harper was the calmest player San Antonio had on the court for significant stretches of the game. He was going through contact, finishing with both hands in traffic, making defensive plays at the point of attack that required anticipation rather than reaction, and doing all of it in double overtime on the road while a rookie. In double overtime, he attacked Caruso and SGA at the same drive, absorbed 2 separate contact points, and still finished the play. The historical comparison that came out of his performance is not the kind of thing you expect to be typing about a first-year player. The last person to post 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals in a conference finals game was Larry Bird. Larry Bird and Dylan Harper. Let that sit for a moment. The rebounding differential is the number that Oklahoma City's coaching staff is going to stare at the longest when they review the film, because it represents a structural problem that won't resolve itself naturally. San Antonio won the rebounding battle 61-40, and that gap wasn't built from 1 or 2 sequences. It was a sustained, systematic demolition of Oklahoma City on the grass from the first quarter to the final possession of double overtime. Every time the Thunder defense did its job and forced a miss, and they did their job repeatedly in this game, a Spurs player was already in position to extend the possession and give San Antonio another chance. Wembanyama alone had 9 offensive rebounds, which on its own is a remarkable individual number. But the broader issue is that the Thunder can't easily solve this problem without creating new ones elsewhere. The Isaiah Hartenstein situation illustrates the bind Oklahoma City is in perfectly. When Hartenstein is on the floor in significant minutes, Wembanyama can simply cheat off him defensively, essentially playing free safety in the paint and making life even harder for Thunder guards trying to attack the rim. When Hartenstein is off the floor, Oklahoma City goes to smaller lineups with Chet Holmgren at the 5, which helps them offensively and gives them more floor spacing, but leaves them fundamentally undersized on the glass against a team that already dominates that area. There is no clean answer here. Both options come with consequences, and the one OKC chose in Game 1 resulted in a 61-40 rebounding loss. The Thunder are a historically great defensive team, but great defense requires stops, and stops require defensive rebounds, and getting defensive rebounds against this Spurs team with Wembanyama on the floor is proving to be genuinely problematic.
Now, let's talk about what Oklahoma City actually did well in this game, because it would be dishonest to frame this as a complete Thunder collapse, and understanding what they did right makes their loss even more concerning than a simple breakdown would suggest. Alex Caruso was extraordinary off the bench. 31 points, 8 of 14 from 3, defensive plays that ranged from impressive to genuinely spectacular. This was the best offensive game of his career, and it happened in the Western Conference Finals against one of the best defensive teams in basketball. Jalen Williams was solid. SGA was limited in the first half, but found his footing in the fourth and overtime, and started to look like himself. The Thunder got contributions from multiple players, capitalized on Spurs turnovers at a high rate, and shot the ball well enough from 3 to win most playoff games. And none of it was enough. The logo pull-up in overtime is the moment that will live in this series, regardless of how it ends. Wembanyama catches the ball roughly 30 feet from the basket, takes one measured look at the defense, and launches a